Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Always Bayern Chelsea show. It's Wednesday, October 29th. Bayern Munich is on a historic run right now, 14 matches in a row, advancing to the round of 16 in the DFB Pokal. And Chelsea Football Club had a crazy, obnoxious win today, 4-3 in the Carabao Cup over in England. And we're going to be live streaming this match on Saturday. Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich and Chelsea and Tottenham at the same time. We're live streaming this. Please be there because these live streams, man, it's a lot of fun to interact with people in the comments and try our hand at something a little bit different. So we're going to be doing that. So again, please be there. My name's Danny, and I'm here to talk to you all about Bayern Munich and this 4-1 win over FC Koln. It was a lot more exciting and spicy of a match than that scoreline showed. So let's jump into it. I wanted to remind you all to subscribe to the Always Bayern Chelsea show here on YouTube, our YouTube channel. Like, comment, all that amazing stuff. It really helps us out. And we're kind of diving in fully to YouTube now. I'm actually going to try to do this episode a little bit differently with some visuals and things like that, if I can get everything to work out. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around and of course, subscribing and all that good stuff. But yeah, let's just jump in. Bayern Munich versus Koln. I previewed this one here in a little short video, but it was going to be a tough match. I never want to take a cup match in particular lightly, especially because it's just this one match win and advance type format, but also because, especially in the German Cup, I know it's like this over in England too, but I feel like with the DFB Pokal, these underdog stories are just so common. These Davids just take down these Goliaths. And, Köln is a team who's actually in pretty good form so far this year in the Bundesliga. I believe they're sitting at 8th in the table, which is really surprising because they were just promoted up from this fight to Bundesliga last year. Elmala, one of their attackers, is really like a bona fide young star who's getting a lot of attention from big clubs. The atmosphere in Köln is awesome, and we'll talk about it, but just a really cool crowd there who really tried to drag this team over the finish line. But it wasn't to be today just because Vincent Kompany's Bayern Munich is so good. And Kompany and the boys took this one seriously. If you look at the lineup that they put out, it's really their exact starting 11 that they go with in any big match. I guess with the exception of Jonas Erbig in between the sticks, because Manuel Neuer, he's still suspended from last year's Pokal red card that he got against Leverkusen. But the back line was solid tonight. The back line was Konrad Leimer, Dayot Upamecano, Jonathan Tah, and Josip Stanisic. I thought all of them were pretty good. I thought Upa was shaky at times, specifically in that first half, but kind of redeemed himself, I guess, as the match went on. Leimer, as always, is just really good. And Stanisic, I thought, was really good tonight, too. And then probably the best defender, but we'll get to it. I don't want to give too many things away because I do give match awards at the end of these episodes. But Jonathan Tah was a rock tonight, and he was probably the most solid on that back line there. The midfield was Joshua Kimmich and Alexander Pavlovic making up that pivot there. And I thought they were both really good. Really, really good. And then Michael Olise was the right wing. Serge Gnabry was the 10. Luis Diaz was the left wing. And Harry Kane, the guy in the back of this kit, was the man of the match. A brace for Kane. And then Diaz scored, Olise scored. So good matches from them as well. Although Diaz had one of the worst misses I've seen this season. Diaz is a frustrating dude at times, but just makes up for it. I mean, scoring a goal, having a beautiful assist. His assist was better than his goal in this one. And then Serge Gnabry, not really his best match, but wasn't horrible, if you ask me. And taking a look at the lineup, here it is. This is my new and improved visual setup here, and I'm going to try to do a lot of work on this just to make this better. But you can see kind of how SofaScore rates these guys, which isn't always indicative of how the actual performance was. If you ask me, there's two things that matter when you're evaluating or looking at just a player's performance in a match. One of them is stats, which is what SofaScore goes off of, but the other one is the eye test. So you actually have to watch matches and figure out, there's a lot of intangible stuff, and you got to figure that stuff out for yourself and decide who was good and who wasn't. So that's why I try to break this down for you, as somebody who watches all these matches, as opposed to just being like, here you go, here's their ratings. But if you are curious about their ratings and their stats, it's right there for you. But like I said, yeah, this match was kind of a doozy. Really, for the first 30 minutes or so, Koln was, if not the better team, they were putting up a strong fight, and they were as good, yeah, if not better, than Bayern Munich in some cases. And right from the get-go, things were going to be physical, things were going to be loud, the atmosphere was going to be raucous, and that's really what it was. So credit to those Billy Goat fans, and yeah, Koln does have a real life Billy Goat, and I love when they show it on the broadcast, because that thing's just always chewing some grass or something, locked in. And Koln is a fun team. They really are. I gotta respect them. But yeah, they probably had the better chances in that beginning of the match. Now there was a Luis Diaz miss in the beginning of the match. Kane put a header, I believe, a little bit wide. So Bayern wasn't without their chances, but I gotta hand it to the kid, honestly. Jonas Erbig, former Koln keeper himself, had a couple of monster saves in this one. The goal wasn't his fault. There were a few moments, sure, where he was a little shaky, just because he plays so much like Neuer, in the fact that he gives me a heart attack sometimes with just the balls that this kid plays with. And that is oftentimes matched with spectacular saves, and key defensive moves. So, pick your poison, I guess. But I thought Erbig was really good in this one overall, and in the beginning of the match, even had a monster save, just high and wide, on a shot that was looking like it was going to be a goal. But no, Erbig was there. And one other thing that kind of maybe influenced the match a little bit early on, if you go up to this Koln team. If you see here, interestingly enough, their attackers were really good, and I would kind of agree with that. Their defense was really good for a while, and then got worn down by this relentless Bayern attack, and by the best player in the world, Harry Kane. So yeah, Elmala gets this yellow card early on, and I'll go over to kind of the breakdown of the match here as I'm talking about it. But you see this in the 3rd minute here. Elmala gets this yellow card, and I think that set the tone for the rest of his match. He wasn't bad by any means, but he was a little bit more cautious, because this was a really, really reckless yellow. It could have been a red, I think, if it was if the damage was a little bit worse. I guess it was a challenge on Diaz, if I'm recalling correctly, and he just doesn't get ball, and then actually kind of like slides and like trips into him after he hits him a little bit more. So pretty stupid and pretty dangerous, if you ask me. But outside of that, Elmala had a nice game, I thought. But it was, again, like a tone-setting moment for this match. Koln was going to be physical. They were going to be up to the challenge. And it was definitely a rainy, kind of hectic, chaotic start to this match. And the pitch, players were sliding all over the place due to the rain and whatnot. But yeah, after this flurry of Koln chances, we do actually see Koln break through first in the 31st minute with that first goal. It was off of a corner. It was poor defending by Bayern, but it was a nice goal by Koln. Over here, you see Aka got the goal. And it was, I think it was Upamecano's fault. It's kind of hard to tell exactly who's supposed to be marking who on these corners when there's so many guys in the box there and there's so much chaos. But I think Upamecano at least could have done better, so I'll put it that way. But Bayern Munich roared back. They did not wait long to kind of get their heads out of their asses or whatever after that goal. And Luis Diaz gets the equalizer off of a Josip Stanisic shot that was deflected thanks to a Konrad Leimer fast break. So these outside backs are actually more responsible for this goal than Diaz in this moment. And I'm not just ripping on Diaz, because I think that Michael Olise's goal was actually kind of courtesy of Pavlovic and Diaz, but we'll get to that later. And Diaz equalizes. Now, Diaz was in an offside position when Stanisic shot it, but then the ball deflected off the keeper. Diaz got back. onside and shot it. I think that's still technically an offside, if the correct call is made, but there's no VAR in this round of the Pokal, so it couldn't have even been looked at. And then Diaz equalizes there. And then a few minutes later, in the 38th minute, we see what was the moment of the match, what was the goal of the match, what was really the moment when you knew there was no going back. And it was just Mr. Inevitable himself, Harry Kane. And this goal was pretty. I always say this, I guess, but if you watch one thing from this match, go ahead and find Kane's goal because it was a doozy of a goal. It was beautiful. It was courtesy of Michael Olise, although he doesn't really get the assist, I don't believe, in the books because there was a defender who kind of got in there and knocked it around. But after, Kane receives this nice pass from Olise, a defender gets his foot in there, and then Kane does this 360 spin cycle move on him and bends the ball into the corner of the net so perfectly. I mean, the guy makes it look effortless, and these are like world-class plays. It's almost a shame how easy he makes them look because, you might miss it or you might not realize how effing hard this is. But Kane's goal was incredible here. And then we kind of, go into halftime here, and Diaz gets a yellow card for time wasting, as you see. I don't like this call, to be honest with you. There's a lot of time wasting that happens in soccer, football, and this was not at all egregious in the grand scheme of things. So it's just one of those things where I'll compare it to this in American football if you watch, but it's one of those like ticky-tacky holding calls that you'll get on an offensive lineman every once in a while where it's like, hey, this type of shit happens every play. You can call it every single play if you want, on these offensive holds, but I don't know why you chose this one. That's kind of how I felt about this time wasting yellow, but whatever. I mean, I can see it, I guess. And we go into halftime with the score of 1-2. I think Bayern is happy on one hand because they got the lead back after going down 1-0, which was the first time they have been down this entire season, I think. I mean, they've been level with teams, of course, but I think this was the first time they've actually been down. So on one hand, you're happy that you got the lead back, but also that they weren't playing quite at their best, and there was definitely a sloppy period, which I don't want to blame Bayern too much because I really do think Koln was just really good for this like first 30 minutes, and the crowd was just again so good for them. But yeah, the first thing really to mention that happens after halftime is a horrific miss from Luis Diaz. He gets the ball, I believe it was a Harry Kane threading the needle type pass, on his own half, and he's alone. And he dribbles the ball all the way across half of the entire pitch with nobody near him at all. And he fires the shot 20 feet over the crossbar. And it's just so frustrating. Diaz is such a frustrating player sometimes because it's a love-hate thing. Like, that chance, I don't know what went wrong there. I don't know if he had too much time or what. I mean, if that's even possible, but that was such a horrific shot. And then later in the match, he wins my heart again, which Diaz has been doing this to me all season. He breaks me down with a god-awful miss and then does something beautiful for the team. And he does so much for the team. His finishing obviously needs to be better in maybe tight matches against PSG, against Arsenal. If he misses a shot like this, I might have a heart attack. But as we'll get to later in the match, Luis Diaz wins me back completely. So yeah, a weird match for Diaz, which is, I hate to say it, but it's kind of becoming par for the course because I can't crush the guy because he does so much so well and then misses the easiest possible chances. So it's like, well, I don't know what's going on with this guy at times, but yeah, it's Luis Diaz missing a gimme there, a sitter, a sitter of all sitters. The first sub of the match, we do see it was a little bit questionable to me in terms of how early it was. But you see Goretzka come on for Gnabry, which is almost like a little bit of a more defensive move. But also Gnabry has been injured, so I think Kompany was maybe just planning on yanking him early, maybe regardless, if that makes sense. And I'm not knocking Kompany because he was damn near perfect in this one. A 4-0 win over a scrappy Koln, or sorry, a 4-1 win over a scrappy Koln side in a cup match, midweek away. I can't complain at all, and it was honestly a better scoreline for Bayern than it probably should have been. So I'm not going to rag on Kompany here. But a little bit later, 64th minute, we do see Harry Kane's brace off of a corner. Kimmich whips in a really nice corner, and Kimmich doesn't always do that. If there's one complaint I'd have about Kimmich's game, it's probably his corners. They're not always the best, but in this case, Kane gets to it and just heads it in really beautifully. So again, Kane just showing he can score in any number of ways, with his left foot, with his right foot, with his head, with his chest, with his shoulder, with his knee, with his whatever. It's Kane, and he's scoring. So at this point, you feel like the match is over, and it really was. I mean, Koln goes to their bench here, tries to make a couple of more subs, but it really doesn't matter at this point. And then it really, really doesn't matter in the 72nd minute with Michael Olise's goal here. And it was good for Olise to get a goal. He technically wasn't on the score sheet at this point, even though he kind of deserved an assist for Kane's first goal. But Olise was having a solid match, and it's, Konrad Laimer is, I think, a big part of that. And I was joking a lot about it last weekend and just talking about it a lot. But yeah, Konrad Laimer is a big reason for Michael Olise's success and just the success of this team, really. I gotta say it, he really is, and you can tell when Konrad Laimer's behind Michael Olise, that right side of the pitch is just functioning better, and it's great to see him making these runs and whatnot. But he wasn't really a part of this goal. The main reason for this goal was that it was a nice counterattack. I believe Olise actually kind of wins the ball first in this counterattack, keeps it in, finds Pavlovic. Pavlovic gets it, makes a really nice run with the ball. Olise is running alongside of him as well. Diaz as well. Pavlovic finds Diaz, and I thought Diaz was going to shoot, but huge credit to him because he takes what was, I don't know, maybe a 70% chance of a goal. And although knowing Diaz's finishing, maybe less, but he passes it to Olise for what's essentially a tap in, a 90, 95, 98 maybe percent chance shot here for Olise, who just gets the ball in stride and kind of taps it in. And again, massive credit to Luis Diaz for finding Olise here after he was having a little bit of a tougher game in terms of his finishing. But again, Diaz does so much good stuff outside of his finishing, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, at this point, again, it's so over. It's so over at this point. And yeah, then in the 77th minute, we have Lennart Karl coming on for Michael Olise. Thank you for this one, Kompany. I've been wanting to see more of Karl, of course, and the match is over at this point. And Olise and Diaz, both of those guys desperately need rest. I've been talking about it week in and week out. They play 1 million minutes per week for club and country. Bayern's schedule is not letting up anytime soon. So yeah, we see some more subs here towards the end of the match. Upa picks up a yellow card for a careless foul, but he also kind of slipped because the pitch was so wet. So, careless, especially at this point in the match. I mean, you're up 4-1. Upa, don't be doing this. Give yourself a break. But again, like, it wasn't. I don't know. It would have been a better challenge if he hadn't slipped, I guess is what I'm saying. So Sasha Bouet in the 87th minute, Nicholas Jackson, Rafael Guerrero come on for Stanisic, Kane, Diaz. Again, good to get these guys some rest. But at this point, the match was over. At this point, Bayern was pretty much in cruise control, and we get that 4-1 win. And again, it's so important in a cup match because really anything can happen. And again, Bayern is on this historic tear. 14 for 14, all wins, no draws. Never before in history of the European leagues has this happened. And Bayern Munich is on fire right now. They're looking like the best team in the world. So credit to all these guys, credit to Vincent Kompany, because the team looks amazing. All right, so I got some match awards for you here in this one. Man of the match is going to be Harry Kane. It just is. The man is unstoppable. He's inevitable. He scored a brace. He did everything well for this team. The Robin of the match, I'm giving to the combination of Michael Olise and Luis Diaz over there on the wings. Diaz, again, was frustrating at times, but had a goal and assist, so I can't really keep him out of this rating or this award show portion of the show in good faith. And Michael Olise is a baller, man. He got a goal in this one, but was more influential than just his goal. My underrated player of the match, shout out to the kid, Jonas Erbig. Again, thought he had a great match, some nervy moments for sure, but made some really key saves. And it's not easy to do that in this kind of environment. So shout out to Jonas Erbig. The defender of the match is going to be Jonathan Tah, our rock in this one. Tah is really on the up and up. I think he had a rough start to his Bayern Munich campaign, but so far, man, he's been good. He's been good so far, in recent days, I should say. Now, we're going to move on to the next match, a thrilling match in the Bundesliga. As mentioned, we will be live streaming this one, Jim and I. So Chelsea plays Tottenham at the same time that Bayern Munich plays Bayer Leverkusen, and I want to beat the brakes off these guys. To be quite honest with you, man, they just pissed me off in this offseason with all their we'd rather, suck ass than sell Florian Wirtz to Bayern Munich, basically. And I get it, obviously you're not going to want to strengthen your competition, but just the way they handled this whole thing, the smugness of their board when they sold their whole team to the Premier League, it just rubs me the wrong way. I think it's bad for the Bundesliga. And again, it's not even necessarily that they're not selling Wirtz to Bayern Munich. And of course, it was Wirtz's decision at the end of the day. So it's not like they decided this, but I just really didn't like a lot of the quotes I saw from, the Leverkusen brass, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. I think they were just so. I think they were assholes about the whole situation, quite frankly. So I just want to beat the brakes off of them this weekend. Obviously, it's also a rivalry, so that's a good reason to want to do that. I guess I say rivalry, but it's been a heated rivalry in the past couple of years because they've been two of the top teams in the league. So it's going to be Saturday, 12:30 Central Standard Time. We will be streaming it again. Please tune into that. The live streams are a lot of fun. And what really makes them the most fun is interacting with you guys in the comments, interacting with fans and whatnot. So check it out. But yeah, let's go over here now into the standings. Bayern Munich sits on top of the table. Perfect. 8 games, 8 wins. That's good for 24 points and a plus 26 goal differential, which is bonkers at this stage in the season. Bayer Leverkusen having a really nice season themselves, actually, sitting in 8th. Sitting in 5th with 17 points, plus 7 goal differential, 8 matches played. And I say they're having a nice season because, yeah, they really did sell pretty much their whole team in this offseason. And it's really tough to maintain any sort of good form with that much change. And the turmoil that happened at the beginning of the season for Leverkusen. They sacked Eric Ten Hag 2 matches into the season, 2 league matches, and I think they actually had a cup match in there maybe. But yeah, it's not easy to deal with that kind of change, the coaching change, and then still kind of claw your way back up to top 5 spot in the table. So I do want to give Leverkusen some credit for that one. But yeah, if you look at recent form, we talk about Bayern Munich. They are unbelievable. But I want to go over to Bayer Leverkusen now. So most recently today, they beat Paderborn 2-4 in the DFB Pokal in what was a wild match after extra time. It looked like Leverkusen was going to win this one clean, 1-0 in regulation. And then in the 90th minute here, you see that Paderborn scored. And then in the 96th minute, they scored again, and it was looking like Leverkusen was actually going to lose. But then we see this flurry minute, Leverkusen, harking back to the days under Xabi Alonso where they would just score at the death of a match. But yeah, then we see a couple more goals here for Leverkusen in added time, actually really towards the end of added time. And that's how we get this crazy 2-4 scoreline. So that was today. But then if you go back here last week, they beat Freiburg in the Bundesliga. They got smoked 2-7 by PSG here in the Champions League in a match that it shouldn't have been 2-7. Let's be honest, but obviously PSG is a powerhouse in all of Europe. And then you see some other matches here in the Bundesliga, beating Mainz, beating Union Berlin. So Leverkusen is, after a rough start, they've been doing well, I guess, outside of this crazy 2-7 match here. But yeah, if you go through their squad, Casper, I believe it's Hoymund, I think is how you say his name, but really do not quote me on these Danish pronunciations. He's their coach now, again, after Ten Hag was sacked early on in the season. But a lot of notable names on this team. If you just scroll through here, the forwards, Patrick Schick is one of the best strikers in the Bundesliga. He is injured right now, although he played today, I want to say, so I think he'll be good to go for this Bayern match. Jonas Hoffmann, Martin Terrier, they just have a number of really recognizable and solid players, even after selling half their squad. Alejandro Grimaldo is if not their best player, one of their best players. This season, he has their most GA with 11. And Malik Tillman, shout out to the United States of America, man. But Alex Garcia, Robert Andrich. Andrich is a German national team mainstay at this point. Nathan Tella, a couple of key injuries here, but these guys are all really good. Lucas Vasquez, actually the former Real Madrid, defender. And, they just have a number of guys. Tapsova is another one who you would recognize. And new keeper this year after Hrdetsky went away. And now I think I just want to talk a little bit about some predictions. I think Kompany is going to roll with the same starting 11 outside of Urbeg. I think Neuer will be the keeper, but I think he'll roll with the same 11 as he did for this cup match. I think it'll be Leimer at right back, Upa and Ta center backs, Stanisic left back, Pavlovic, Kimmich midfield. You could see Goretzka if he wants to go a little bit more physical, I guess, in that midfield, but I just don't see it. And then I think we'll see Olise, Gnabry at the 10, Diaz at the left wing, Kane at the 9. And yeah, I think he's going to go all out in the Bundesliga with that kind of a lineup. I really do. As far as a prediction goes, I think we're going to go 3-1 Bayern. I just think this Bayern Munich team is rolling. And I say this every week, but I'd be an absolute idiot to bet against them. The way Kane's playing, I think Kane can beat almost any team in the world single-handedly. So that's what I'm going to go with in this one. Let's go with a Kane goal. Let's sprinkle a Leimer goal in there. And then let's go with I'm going to go Olise. I think I'm going to go Olise. I was tempted to say Pavlovic again after that banger of a goal he had against Leverkusen last year. But I'm going to go 3-1 because I do respect Leverkusen. I think they're a good side. I think they've been in pretty good form. But I just think this Bayern Munich team is too tough, too relentless. And I think they're going to grind teams down. And I don't think it's going to be any different with this Bayer Leverkusen team. So yeah, we're going to stream it. Be there or be square. And also, the Champions League match after this is PSG, a battle of the European heavyweights. At this point, Bayern Munich versus PSG. Be there for that one as well. And again, Chelsea had a nice, I shouldn't even say nice, maybe, a chaotic, how about that? 3-4 win against I almost pronounced it like a German word. Wolverhampton, not Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton in the Carabao Cup over in England. Jim will keep you covered for that one. Thanks for sticking with us here. Thanks for sticking with me as I try this new format, bringing some visuals into the mix here. And Mia San Mia, and subscribe and like and comment. And Mia San Mia again, forever and always. See ya at the live stream on Saturday. Peace out.